Good afternoon and welcome to Paralyzed Veterans of America's webinar on the VA Program of Comprehensive Assistance for Family Caregivers. We will get started momentarily. Please continue to hold. Thank you. Well, again, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Heather Ansley, and I'm the Associate Executive Director of Government Relations for Paralyzed Veterans of America. We want to thank you for joining us today for this webinar entitled What PVA Members Should Know About Changes to the VA Program of Comprehensive Assistance for Family Caregivers. Before we begin with today's presentation, we wanted to go over a few reminders. First, if you have any questions during this presentation, please click on the Q&A control that is on your screen and post it. All of our questions will be answered at the end of today's presentation. Also, the webinar is being recorded and will be available soon on pva.org. It will also be sent to all attendees of today's webinar. Lastly, if you need closed captioning, information about how to join the webinar with closed captioning is available in the welcome email that you received as a reminder for today's webinar. I'd like to now introduce Roscoe Butler. Roscoe is currently an Associate Legislative Director for Paralyzed Veterans of America. He served for 3 years in the United States Army. Following his military service, he was employed by the Department of Veterans Affairs, where he served in various senior leadership roles before retiring from the VA in 2011. We're honored to have Roscoe be part of our team and for him joining us today to talk with us about the Caregiver Program. So I'd like to now turn it over to Roscoe.
Thank you, Heather, and good afternoon, everyone. Today's agenda will cover a range of topics with regard to VA's program of comprehensive assistance for family caregivers. We'll talk about who is eligible under the program, the eligibility requirements, how to apply for caregivers benefits, the various stipend levels and changes, who is considered a legacy applicant and legacy participant, how a veteran is revoked or discharged from the program, the appeals process, and who members can contact for help and/or assistance. Before we begin the program, we want to get an understanding of who is on the program and what areas did you serve while you were on the active duty service. Heather, can you pull up the poll questions? So we have 3 questions. Until recently, only post 9/11 veterans were eligible for VA's Comprehensive Family Caregivers Program. When were you discharged from military service? Please select one of the 3 questions. We'll give you time to respond. Heather, can we pull up the results and we can see as the results come in? So right now, we have 31% of the participants indicating they served before May 7th, 1975. 45 participants, 45% or 29 participants said they served between May 8, 1975 and September the 10th, 2001. And 23% or 15 participants said they served on or after September the 11th, 2001. Next slide. And want to share with you why that's important. VA implemented the Caregivers Program in 2001 to provide benefits to caregivers of post 9/11 disabled veterans with serious injuries. The program was expanded to include veterans of other eras in 2 phases. Phase 1, which took effect October 1 of 2020, VA began accepting joint applications from veterans and their caregivers discharged on or before May 7th, 1975. So this group of veterans can apply for the caregiver program currently now. Phase 2, which includes veterans who served between May 7th of 1975. That phase will begin on October 1, 2022. So our presentation today will be focused on veterans who fall in phase 1, as well as those veterans who were eligible to enroll when the program was first implemented in 2010, but did not enroll in the program. Next slide. So here's an overview of the benefits caregivers are eligible to receive. So as a family caregiver, they can receive personal care services for the eligible veterans, respite care, which includes 24 hours per day of care for up to 30 days per year. There can be more if clinically appropriate and is requested by the primary caregiver. They can also receive counseling services such as mental health services, technical support consisting of information and assistance to address the routine and caregiver needs of the family caregiver in providing personal care services to the eligible veteran. And they are also eligible for beneficiary travel payment. Next slide. Who is eligible? So any veteran who had a serious injury, which is a single or combined service-connected disability rated of 70% or more, and meet the following eligibility requirements are eligible. And I want to make a distinction that prior to this change, it was a serious injury only. But now it's a serious injury, which includes illness, as long as a veteran is rated 70% or more and they meet these conditions. So you have to be a veteran or a member of the armed forces or undergoing a medical discharge. Next slide. You have to have a serious injury, including serious illness that was incurred or aggravated in the line of duty while you were on active military, naval, or air service. And it occurred on or after September 11, 2001, or on or before May 7th, 1975. Next, the individual needs in-person personal care services for a maximum of 6 continuous months based on any one of the following conditions: an inability to perform an activity of daily living, or a need for supervision, protection, or instruction. Next slide. It is in the best interest of the individual to participate in the program. Personal care services that would be provided by the family caregiver would not be simultaneously and regularly provided or through another individual or entity. The individual receives care at home, and the individual receives ongoing care from a primary care team. Next slide. So let's talk about who can serve as a family caregiver. So to be eligible to serve as a family caregiver, an individual must be at least 18 years of age and be either the eligible veteran spouse, son, daughter, parent, step family member, or extended family member, or someone who lives with the eligible veteran full time or will be if VA designate them as a family caregiver. The individual must also be initially assessed by VA as being able to complete caregivers education and training. And once they complete the caregiver training and demonstrate the ability to carry out the specific personal care services, core competence, and additional care requirements, VA will certify them as a VA caregiver. Next slide. So how to apply for the caregiver benefits? Veterans and caregivers may apply based upon one of the following 3 ways. They can go online and fill out an application, VA Form 10CG, at this web address, or they can fill out the application by going to www.vacaregiver.va.gov, download VA Form 1010CG, fill the application out, and mail the completed form and any supporting documents to the Program of Comprehensive Assistance for Family Caregivers, which is located at the Health Eligibility Center in Decatur, Georgia. The address is 2957 Claremont Road, Northeast, Suite 200, Atlanta, Georgia. Lastly, they can, once they fill out the application, they can bring the application into their caregiver support staff at the local VA medical facility and give it to the caregiver support coordinator. Next slide. Let's talk about changes in the stipend payment levels. So under the previous program requirements, there were 3 levels. Under the new rule, there are only 2 levels. Level 1 is when VA determines that a veteran can self-sustain in the community. The designated primary caregiver will receive the lower level stipend payment. And under level 2, if VA determines the veteran is unable to self-sustain in the community, the designated primary family caregiver will receive the higher stipend payment. So let's talk about what is the difference between self-sustained and unable to self-sustain. Next slide. Unable to self-sustain in the community means that an eligible veteran either requires personal care services each time he or she completes 3 or more of the 7 activities of daily living listed in the definition of an inability to perform an ADL and is fully dependent on a caregiver to complete such ADLs, or has a need for supervision, protection, or instructions on a continuous basis. Next slide. So VA defines the need for supervision, protection, and instructions to mean that the veteran or service member has a functional impairment that directly impacts his or her ability to maintain his or her personal safety on a daily basis. Next slide. So, who is a legacy applicant? A legacy applicant is any veteran or service member who submits a joint application for the Caregiver Program that is received by VA before October 1, 2020, and for whom a family caregiver is approved and designated on or after October 1, 2020. A family member will continue to be a legacy applicant so long as his or her primary family caregiver continues to be approved and designated as such by VA. Next slide. If a veteran and a caregiver submits a new joint application to VA after October 1, 2020, and VA approves the application and designation of the same or a new primary family caregiver, the veteran would no longer be considered a legacy applicant. If a legacy participant meets the new eligibility requirements and the reassessment results in a higher stipend amount, then the increase will take effect immediately with retroactive payments to October 1, 2020. However, if it results in a lower stipend amount, then the current stipend amount will continue through the duration of the transitional period. Next slide. So let's talk about how a veteran and caregiver can be revoked or discharged from the program. And there are several reasons why an eligible veteran and or family caregiver may be discharged or revoked. They can be discharged or revoked based upon the family caregivers requesting to be discharged from the program when VA determines the veteran no longer meets the requirements because his or her condition improved, the veteran or family caregiver dies or is institutionalized, the family caregiver eligible veteran or eligible veteran surrogate requests removal, or VA revokes the veteran for non-compliance. Let's discuss how non-compliance works and how you can be reinstated. Next slide. So in the case of revocation for non-compliance, the withdrawal would not take effect until at least 60 days from the date VA provides notice of the determination. This is referred to as the 60-day advance notice. This time allows the veteran and family caregiver an opportunity to take whatever steps are necessary to become compliant. Next slide. When such corrective actions are taken within the 60-day advance notice period, the decision to revoke is reversed by the local caregiver support program staff, and the family caregivers who are revoked due to noncompliance are not entitled to extended benefits. Next slide. So upon determination that a family caregiver is revoked based upon noncompliance, the local caregiver support program staff will let the veteran and each caregiver know of the decision verbally and in writing, and that verbal and written notification must address the non-compliance issue to allow the veteran and caregiver to become compliant, and how to appeal the determination. Next slide. A veteran and family caregiver can appeal that decision during the 60-day notice period, and they are not required to wait until the effective date of the revocation period to file an appeal. The local caregiver support program staff will coordinate with the veteran, the veteran's treatment team, and the family caregiver to facilitate appropriate care for the veteran as needed. So if you're being discharged and you need additional care or support, they will refer you to any outside source or agency to assist with any assistance you need. Next slide. If a veteran and caregiver who files a joint application for the caregiver program is determined not to be eligible, or a legacy applicant or participant upon reassessment is determined no longer to be eligible, as we indicated, the veteran and caregiver can submit a clinical appeal. The clinical appeal should be submitted to the patient advocate at the treating VA medical facility or the Veterans Integrated Service Network patient advocate coordinator at the VISN level. Next slide. And there are two levels of appeal. The first level of appeal is processed by the local patient advocate and is submitted to VISN's centralized eligibility team. The final decision will be communicated to the person who submitted the appeal within the 45 days of the appeal being received by the patient advocate. If the persons who filed the original appeal disagrees with the first level appeal decision, they can appeal the decision to the VISN Chief Medical Officer, which is referred to as the second level appeal. Next slide. The second level appeal is the final level of the clinical appeal process and will be communicated to the person or persons who submitted the appeal within 45 business days of the appeal being received. And I want to express that there are no further appeal options beyond the second level appeal process. So if you try to go any step further, VA will not entertain any further action beyond the second level appeal process. Next slide. So who should PVA members contact if they need assistance? You should direct them to their PVA's National Service Officer, who can assist them, veterans and caregivers, with the submission of VA Form 1010CG. And the NSO should be familiar with the name of the local VA caregiver support coordinator, and he or she can email or possibly hand carry the form to the coordinator. Next slide. And what can an NSO do to help a veteran and/or caregivers? They can help by explaining the eligibility criteria for the Caregivers Program. They can assist the veterans in submitting the VA Form 1010CG to the local VA Medical Center coordinator. They can follow up on any of the pending applications and assist the caregiver, veteran and caregiver, filing an appeal if necessary. Next slide. So how can they locate a PVA NSO? They can locate them by visiting pva.org. And once they log on to the site, they can click on Find Support, then click on Find a National Service Officer. They can also call PVA's national headquarters at 1-800-424-8200, or they can email us at info@pva.org. Next slide. So that concludes our formal presentation. I'm going to turn it back over to Heather, and Heather will take control of the question and answer session.
Well, thank you, Roscoe, for going through all of the changes to the Caregiver Program. As you noted, this now provides the opportunity for a new era of veteran to be eligible to apply for the program. But it does also change some of the requirements for those who are currently in the program and currently eligible, with some of the changes that VA made beginning October 1st. So I just wanted to reemphasize the importance of, if you have any questions about whether or not you may be eligible, or if you're already in the program, whether or not you may see any changes, please contact your PVA National Service Officer, who can assist you with questions about your specific needs, through your individual application and your current eligibility. One of the biggest changes that does impact PVA members is the requirement that they went away from having a serious injury and having that be eligibility, to eligibility now being based, as Roscoe said, on having either a single or combined disability rating of 70% or greater. And really the thing that did was disconnect the need for care services from the serious injury or illness, particularly because VA decided it would simply be too difficult to try to determine, for veterans, particularly those who are aging, why they need the care services that they need. So that is definitely something that we hope will be helpful to many of our members as we go through this process. So Roscoe, one of the questions we have is about, again, what the changes in the program will mean for those who are already eligible. So the post 9/11 veteran who's already eligible for the program, their caregiver is already in the program. Can you just tell us a little bit more about what they should expect now that VA has these new rules for the program? Oh, you're on mute there, Roscoe.
Sorry, can you hear me now? So effective October 1 of 2020 and between October 1 and September 30th of 2021, VA will be reassessing any veteran who is currently enrolled in the program based upon the new eligibility criteria. So if you are not 70%, have a single disability of 70% service connected or greater, or a combined rating of 70% or higher, you could be discharged from the program. However, you're going to have a 60-day 60-day window, and then after that 60-day window, you have a 90-day period, but your eligibility will not change for 1 year until after September 30th of 2021. So irrespective of whether you remain eligible or not, you will not be discharged from the program. If VA determine you no longer be eligible, VA will not discharge you from the program until after September 30th of 2021. And I want to clarify something because I threw something in there, a twist. The 60-day and 90-day only takes effect once they determine you after September 30th of 2021 that you're no longer eligible. Then that's when the 60 window and the 90-day window applies. So you'll have that additional time to take further action once you have been determined no longer eligible.
Thanks, Roscoe. With the phase-in of eligibility and folks who now served on or before May 7, 1975 being eligible, and those who were injured or became ill post September 11, 2001, we have a group of folks in the middle who are not currently eligible to apply, will be eligible no later than October 1st of 2022. Can you tell us about folks to help us understand who's eligible now and who's going to be eligible in October 1st of 2022? What if a veteran served prior to that May 7, 1975, and then their service went to, let's say, October of 1978? So they served during both of the phase 1 and phase 2 times, got out in October of 78. When is that individual going to be eligible to apply for the program?
So if I understood the question, they served before before May 1 of 1975, but their service extended into the phase 2 conditions after May 8 of 75. they would be, from our understanding, they would be, because of their service of the earlier date, they would be eligible. They are considered a phase one applicant, and they would be eligible to enroll beginning October 1 of 2000 now.
So thanks, Roscoe. So just to clarify, if a veteran spans the phase one and phase two time periods, they should go on and put their application in now, not wait for phase two. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. What about, can you tell us a little bit about meeting the activities of daily living, and then what, basically there's the requirement that you have to meet those activities of daily living. And then as we look at the stipend payments, there's the lower level stipend payment, and then there's the higher level stipend payment. You know, at this point, we have a good example, I think, a veteran who says that, you know, he has ALS, he's 100% service connected. As caregivers his wife, but at this time, minimal care is needed. And, you know, he's looking at, right now he has some transfusions, 10 days out of every 4 weeks, and wondering how this is going to impact the stipend payment that the individual receives, and whether or not once your care needs increase, whether or not you can move up from level 1 to the level 2 as you begin to need more services. So can you tell us just a little bit about the stipend payments?
Yeah, so it depends upon what the caregiver provides to the caregiver support program when they submit their work. So if they show or demonstrate that they provided assistance with the activities of daily living in support of the veteran on a continuous basis, then they would be eligible for the higher level stipend pay. But if they don't meet that requirement, and it's not more than 3 assistants with 3 or more ADLs, then they would fall in the lower level stipend payment. But it can, 1 month you may be qualifying at the higher level, and 1 month you may qualify at the lower level. It all depends upon the assistance that the caregiver is providing and what they report when they submit their information to the Caregiver Support Program office.
Thank you, Roscoe. So we know that VA provides lots of benefits for veterans with significant disabilities, you know, through the Veterans Benefits Administration, but also through the Veterans Health Administration. So we have a question: how does the caregiver benefit? Does it change anything to the VA's first, the Homemaker Health Aid Program? So if you're getting Homemaker Health Aid, what would the Caregiver Program mean?
So that's a good question. So if a caregiver, if a veteran requires, is provided homemaker or home health aid services, from my understanding, I don't want to give you mixed information. So I think I'm going to have to take that question for the record. I'll reach out to VA and make sure I get clarification, because it seems like we're providing a benefit that, because there was one statement in the presentation, as long as no one else is assisting or providing the benefit. So I think I need to go back to VA and ask them to clarify if a veteran is receiving homemaker home health aid services, can they also, can the caregiver also continue to receive caregivers benefits, stipend payments? And I'll get an answer for you and get that back to you shortly.
Thank you, Roscoe. We had another question about whether the new program begins the second level of eligibility. So it is October 1st, 2022. So it's on that date when the second group of individuals would be eligible. And it's important to note that basically at that point, any veteran who meets the eligibility criteria will be eligible. The time in which you served will become irrelevant. So we're almost through this period where the time in which you served matters. Once we hit that October 1st, 2022 date, that's no longer going to be an issue. Let's see here what else we have.
Let me just Roscoe. Clarify that 2020 October 1, 2022 date is when VA will begin accepting applications from any potential eligible veteran and caregivers. And then it will have to go through the same process as VA determining eligibility. And once they determine eligibility, then they will award the benefit to the caregiver, to the caregiver. So it's when they will start accepting applications. So caregiver and veteran cannot start submitting their applications until that October 1, 2022 deadline or date.
So Roscoe, as I mentioned, there are quite a few programs that VA currently offers to help veterans with catastrophic disabilities. We have a question about what is the difference between the Caregiver Program and the fee-basis bowel and bladder program that many of our members are already receiving assistance under, and can you be part of both of those programs?
They're separate and distinct programs. The bowel and bladder program was started years before the Caregiver Program came about, and it was to allow family members or whoever the veteran designate to receive the VA bowel and bladder training. And once they were certified as completing that training, then VA would pay them a rate to perform bowel and bladder care on the veteran. And then the Caregiver Program, which encompasses part of the stipend payment to cover that. That's one of the questions, again, I'll have to ask VA to clarify whether you can receive both. And so I think we had that question before, and I believe what VA told me was that you can't, because if you're getting a caregiver, you're already receiving that payment. It's included in the hours and work that you perform, and you provide to VA for reimbursement under the Caregivers Program. But I'll go back and re-clarify, and if I'm told anything different, I'll let you know. But as I understand it, you cannot.
So I think Roscoe makes an important statement that, again, with all of the different programs that are currently available to veterans, the Caregiver Program is designed to fill an unmet need. If you have any question about whether or not you might be eligible, you're receiving other benefits, again, we encourage you to talk with your service officer to be able, he or she can look at your specific situation, can work with the caregiver team to see if you would be eligible for the program. The main thing is that they're looking at duplication. If you're already getting a benefit, that they're not also now giving you a new benefit. But certainly we know that in the administration of the Caregiver Program to date, that there has been a lot of areas where people, there isn't a lot of similarity in how people are sometimes adjudicated eligible. So it's very important that even if you think you might be eligible and you're interested, to go ahead and speak with your service officer about this individual issue. Roscoe, for those who are deemed to be eligible to participate in the program, so they go through the eligibility process and they're adjudicated to be in the program. What type of requirements did they have ongoing as being part of this program?
Can you repeat the question? Sorry.
Sure. So if you're determined to be eligible for the program, what ongoing requirements do you have to continue to be eligible for the program? Do you have to continue to meet with VA? Do you have to submit reports? What do you have to do to continue to be eligible for the program?
The program requires that you be, there's a home assessment process that's built into the program. VA will come in and reassess your needs and determine that you still meet the in-personal need requirements and all of the other requirements as required by their new regulation. And if you continue to meet the requirements, you remain eligible for the program. If VA deems that you no longer meet the requirements, then they can take appropriate actions to discharge you from the program. But again, we would say that any time VA takes actions and inform the veteran and or caregiver that they are being discharged from the program, you should immediately reach out to your DSO to request their assistance.
So thank you, Roscoe. Can you tell us a little bit about the requirements for the caregiver? What will the caregiver need to go through? We know that many of our caregivers have been providing care to their veteran for in some cases, decades. But what are the requirements under this program if they're determined to be eligible?
There's a training requirement that all caregivers have to undertake to be certified to be a VA caregiver. There's also a new addition of a wellness program. And I'm not up on what all that wellness covers, but they're also going to be required to participate in that wellness training as well. And once they meet all of the, once they complete all of those requirements and they meet the general requirements, 18 years of age, et cetera, then they would be certified as a caregiver and so forth.
Thank you, Roscoe. The other program that lots of folks are asking about is how does caregiver work with, how does it affect aid and attendance payments? So I think kind of in the same vein of people who are already receiving benefits under some other program to provide services, now looking at how does caregiver interplay. Do you have anything additional to say about that particular issue?
Yes. If we follow the logic, aid and attendance is being provided by VBA. Caregiver benefits is a healthcare benefit provided by the Veterans Health Administration. We used to get that question a lot about if the VBA benefit has an impact on the VA aid and attendance program. And VA General Counsel issued a ruling that they were separate benefits and they do not impact one another. I can't for sure say that that's how it works now, but under the caregiver program, I believe it does, but that's another question. I've made a note and I'll go back and ask VHA for clarification and get an answer back to you.
Thank you, Roscoe. We also had a question about if the stipend payment was taxable. It is not taxable, so that's an easy one that we can address. Another question that we've had is, so Roscoe, for those who are in phase 2, they're not currently eligible to apply for the program and won't be until October 1st of 2022. What benefits, if any, are available to them now, today? So let's say you are over 70%, you were injured, you know, in the line of duty, but it was during the 90s. So you're in the donut hole, if you will, as far as eligibility. What can that veteran do today if they need help?
So VA geriatric and extended care services provide a host of programs to assist veterans. They have a homemaker home health aid. They have the Healthy Home program. There are a number of programs that are out there. What I suggest that they do is to reach out to the VA geriatric extended care coordinator at their local facility, and they should be able to identify what particular program would best meet their needs. And one of the good things about all of those programs, they're part of VA's medical benefit package. So once a veteran is deemed eligible to apply for VA healthcare, they're eligible for any of those geriatric extended care programs, with one exception, and that's nursing home care. As we know, nursing home care has a limitation for any veteran who is 70% or more service connected, similar to the caregiver program, or requiring nursing home care for a service connected disability. That doesn't mean a veteran would not be eligible. All veterans are eligible for nursing home care, but if you don't have mandatory eligibility, your eligibility is based on a space, resource available basis.
Thank you, Roscoe. So we had a question about eligibility, again, because we're in this strange time where we've got phase 1 and phase 2 and when you serve. So if we have a veteran who served before May 7, 1975, but then were injured in 1987, so their main injury, if you will, is a non-service connected injury. Is it possible that they could still be eligible for this program?
If they were injured before May 7th of 1975?
So served before May 7, 1975, but then once they got out of the military, were injured. And I think the change to 70%, the 70% criteria might make a difference for this individual.
The date of your injury doesn't matter. The eligibility is based upon when you served, not when you were injured. So as long as you served on or before May 7th of 1975, you fall in and you meet the basic eligibility requirements, 70% service connected, or requiring you have a multiple disability that's rated 70% or higher. It doesn't matter. It's when you serve. So VA will look at when you serve and determine whether you fall in phase 1 or phase 2 category.
Thanks, Roscoe. And I think the good part of that is, as I said, VA with the change to 70% is now not looking at a specific injury. They're looking at, do you have 70% either for one injury or combined to be able to apply. So for that gentleman, I would suggest contacting your NSO and discussing further whether or not you would be eligible. We also had a question about what payments are taxable, and the Caregiver Program. So the benefit under the Comprehensive Caregiver Program is the one that is not a taxable benefit. So if you receive that, you will not be taxed on that. Roscoe, can you tell us if you receive payments under, for instance, the Bowel and Bladder Program, are those taxable?
From our understanding, it's not. I haven't received any word. We went to VA a year or so ago with that question, and we didn't get a clear answer from VA. And so we tried to reach out to some of our longstanding members who do receive bowel and bladder care to get that clarification. And from my understanding, it is not. But again, I can try more follow up on it and see if I can get a definite answer.
Thank you, Roscoe. Yeah, the bowel and bladder issue definitely was a complication, but I can unequivocally say that the Caregiver Program stipend is not taxable. We also had another question because of concern about if people are getting bowel and bladder payment, does that mean that they're not eligible for the caregiver benefit? And what I would say is, it's uncertain. It would depend on the determination that VA makes as to whether or not you're already receiving a benefit for the same thing for which you would need caregiver services. So even if you receive other types of payments, you should still contact your NSO, and you should still, if you meet, the criteria of being in the phase 1 or a post 9/11, you should still go ahead and apply, because there's not a hard and fast rule, and it would be a determination based on your particular situation. So that is the case there. It looks like some others are saying that the bowel and bladder program, that they receive it and that for them it is taxable income. Like I said, I know, as Roscoe said, we did go to VA about that last year, and quite frankly, VA wasn't so sure in how that was determined. So some of the questions that we've had today, we're going to take those to the experts at VA Central Office and get some additional information for you. And we will post the responses to that on the pva.org website, but also send it out to everyone who attended today's webinar. So you'll be able to find out additional information that is there. You'll also be able to, if you have other questions that we didn't get to today, please don't hesitate to reach out again to your National Service Officer, who can assist you, or also to Roscoe, whose email address is Roscoe, ROCSOEB, as in Butler, at pva.org. one of our last things we want to do is just show you a resource section. So on VA's caregiver website, they have a host of fact sheets and booklets and other resources that they have developed to help those who have questions both about the expansion, those who are currently in the program, and what the reassessment will mean to them. So if there was something that you didn't get answered today, please don't hesitate to go and to the VA's caregiver website, which is just www.caregiver.va.gov. And when you go to that page, you'll see all of the materials that are listed here. Of course, we did record today's presentation, and also we'll have the presentation, the slides, and then the additional information for the questions that we weren't able to get to today, and for those for which we're seeking some additional clarification. That's why it's always good to hear from our members and what your questions and concerns are. A final plug, please, if you have any questions about whether you may be eligible, think you're eligible, want to apply, please contact your National Service Officer for further assistance. We don't want anyone to decide themselves that they're not eligible. Please go and talk to one of our experts who can look at your particular situation and help to guide you through the application process and let you know if you're not eligible for this program, perhaps help you to find other programs for which you might be eligible. So that concludes today's presentation. Thank you again to all who participated, and we will talk with you soon. Thank you.